It was well past midnight, and the city had wrapped itself in silence, save for the occasional hum of distant traffic. As billionaire hotelier Nathaniel Cole's car turned the final corner to his penthouse, his eyes caught a figure curled up near the corner of the building. A woman, trembling in her sleep, her tattered blanket barely shielding her from the night chill. He might have driven past, as the world so often does, but something about her felt hauntingly familiar. When his driver slowed and the street lamp illuminated her face, Nathaniel's heart dropped. It was her, Maria, his maid. The same woman who greeted him every morning with a quiet smile. The same woman who had served tea in silence, wiped his marble floors, and folded his expensive suits with care. She wasn't just homeless, she was sleeping outside his own building. And that moment shattered him in a way his billions never could fix. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, share with someone who needs hope today. Subscribe our channel Kindness Talks for more real-life inspired emotional stories. To Nathaniel Cole wasn't known for sentiment. He was known for being sharp, calculated, and devastatingly rich. At 42, he was one of the most powerful hotel moguls in the country. People admired him, envied him, and feared him, but no one really knew him. His life was structured, polished, and timed. From his morning workout to his board meetings, nothing was out of place, except of course the people who worked for him. Like Maria Santiago was 53, a quiet, brown-skinned woman with gentle eyes and calloused hands. She never missed a day of work, always arrived early, and left without a word. Nathaniel never asked about her life outside the mansion. She was just the maid. But what he didn't know was that Maria had been sleeping on benches, in train stations, and eventually in the alley beside his building for almost 4 months. Her son had gotten into a terrible accident that drained her savings. Rent skyrocketed. Her apartment landlord changed, and she was evicted overnight. But she never said a word. She just kept working, sleeping on the streets, keeping her pain invisible. That night, when Nathaniel stepped out of his car and stood over her fragile form, he wasn't the CEO. He wasn't the billionaire. He was just a man seeing something that broke his soul. She had protected his image of perfection by hiding her suffering, and he had never bothered to look. He bent down and touched her shoulder gently. "Maria." She startled awake, panic flashing in her eyes before she saw him. She quickly stood, brushing her uniform, trying to straighten herself, her lips trembling. "Mr. Cole, I was just—" "You sleep here?" he asked, voice rough. She looked down. "Only sometimes, sir. It's okay." His silence stretched long. Then, softly, he said, "Come inside." The next few hours changed everything. Maria sat on the edge of the grand leather sofa in his lounge, shivering more from shame than cold. Nathaniel sat across from her, his expression unreadable. But in his heart, something deep and human stirred. Guilt, fury, sadness. "Why didn't you tell me?" he finally asked. Maria hesitated. "It's not your problem, sir. You already gave me a job. I didn't want to be a burden." Her words hit him like a punch. He had spent millions on architecture, decor, and custom Italian tiles, but had ignored the human being who polished them. The next morning, Nathaniel canceled all his meetings. Instead, he called a lawyer, and then a therapist, and then a friend who ran a private women's shelter. Maria didn't just need a roof, she needed to heal. But Maria resisted at first. "Please, just let me keep my job." He smiled for the first time in years, a real smile. "You're not my maid anymore, Maria. You're family now." The words spread quickly. The media picked up the story when Nathaniel was seen personally moving furniture into a small guest house on his estate. A house he had built from scratch in 2 weeks. It was for Maria. He didn't want her to stay in a sterile mansion that reminded her of being a servant. He wanted her to feel human again. Maria tried to refuse the luxury, but Nathaniel was patient. For every excuse she made, he told her one reason she deserved more. When her son recovered and came to visit, he cried seeing his mother finally sleep on a real bed, one she didn't have to worry about being kicked off of. But Nathaniel didn't stop there. He established the Santiago Foundation, a nonprofit that provided housing, emotional support, and skill building for domestic workers who faced housing insecurity. When asked why he did it, his response was simple: "Because I saw her sleeping outside my door and realized we build walls to protect our wealth, but forget to build bridges to protect our people." Maria eventually began working with the foundation too, not as a cleaner, but as a mentor and counselor. She began teaching English and basic financial literacy to other women like her. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just surviving, she was changing lives. Years passed, Nathaniel changed too. The once stone-faced CEO became a man known for his humanity. He began attending foundation events, hugging old maids, listening to their stories, remembering names. One day, a journalist asked Maria, "Do you forgive him for not seeing your pain?" For Maria smiled. He didn't see until he did, and when he didn't look away. That's all I ever wanted. In the final scene of their story, an older Nathaniel stood beside Maria on a stage, handing a young woman a certificate, a former maid turned nurse, whose tuition had been paid through the foundation. The applause filled the room. Maria looked at him and whispered, "Thank you for not driving past." He looked at her, his eyes misty. "Thank you for waking me up." Sometimes, the greatest acts of humanity begin with simply seeing someone we've always ignored. This story isn't just about wealth, it's about awareness, about kindness, about refusing to let someone sleep on the street when there's a room right behind your heart. Let's not wait until the world forces us to care. Let's start caring now.